Just tagging you all now. Well, hello everyone, and a really, really warm welcome to you all today. My name's Pooja. I'm currently the head coach on the Healthy Relationships program. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we are opening up a really powerful and important conversation. We're here to explore why personal growth is so essential for men, how it impacts mental health, relationships, success, and overall well-being. And also, why is it something that so many men resist? I'm so honored to be joined by four very special guests this evening who have not only done the work on themselves, but they are here to bravely talk about it too with their stories, their reflections, and we hope it will challenge the status quo. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Thank you for
Hey,
being here. So just
Hello.
Hi. So just before we get into it, there will be some references to the Healthy Relationships program by FITBANKER. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of context if you've not heard about what this is. It is an 11-week online self-development course with weekly coaching calls and practical building blocks where you get to work on yourself. It has been created and is delivered live by the brilliant Dr. Ambika Sampath. We'll tell you a little bit more about it at the end of our discussion. So now I would like to introduce our wonderful guests who've all done the program. First of all, I'd like to introduce a very warm welcome to Jesse Gaston. He is a loving and supportive stay-at-home husband and father to a healthy 3-year-old. I'm sure that keeps you very busy, Jesse. His professional background includes serving as director of admissions for a university in the USA and managing director of a mining and construction company in Zambia. Now resides in beautiful San Diego, California. Jesse is deeply committed to giving people access and opportunities to heal themselves from within the principles of acceptance, surrender, forgiveness, compassion, and gratitude. And he is an experienced head coach and will be head coaching on the upcoming Healthy Relationships program starting May 22nd. Hi, Jesse. How are you doing and how are you feeling about the upcoming program?
Number one, I'm feeling very flattered to be here. Hearing all of those things that you've just said about me, I'm blushing. And I want to say thank you for being here. And yes, I am going to be head coaching on the May Healthy Relationship program that starts on Thursday, May 22nd. So it's upcoming. I'm excited. Our coaches are ready. And I'm also just super excited to be here as well.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Next, I'd love to introduce Jignesh Patel. He is a 44-year-old original London boy and now settled in warmer pastures in Tampa, Florida. He transformed his life from one of mediocrity to abundance by shifting his mindset. The law of attraction played a key role in helping him manifest his dream life, while the HR program brought powerful awareness to his mental health and spiritual well-being. He was a participant on it, he's just coached on it, and will be coaching again in May with Jesse. He now runs his own successful insurance agency and just a few days ago was awarded Top Agent of the Year. Congratulations, Jignesh.
thank you.
And how are you doing, Jignesh?
You've been amazing. Just accepted the awards for the agency and the agent in Jamaica, Montego Bay. So yeah, they definitely manifested everything that's happening in my life through positive thoughts and just keeping the negative out. Honored to be here, honored that you put this together, and yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks for being here,
Thankful.
Jignesh. Thank you. All right, next we're over to Shaq Hirani. He participated in the program a couple of years ago. He is a 42-year-old optometrist and director of 4 optician businesses. He has trekked across the world from Machu Picchu to Kenya and even twice up Mount Kilimanjaro, once alongside his, wait for it, 70-year-old mother. What a proud moment. He has served as president of charities, mentored students and trainees, coached with FITBanker, and now holds the role of global lead for FITBanker Treks and Adventures. And yet, before the HR course, he was emotionally volatile and unaware of the impact of his emotions had on himself and those around him. Sorry about that. My other computer just started going. Apologies for that. Shaq, how are you? What was it like going with your 70-year-old mother?
Well, first of all, thanks, Pooja, for inviting me to this discussion. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, it was amazing, actually. And actually, I should say, I was also there with my wife of 4 weeks as well. So we'd been married 4 weeks, and you could call this a mini moon, possibly. But yeah, climbing up a mountain for your honeymoon was an interesting one. But yes, it was great doing it with my mum. It was one of her kind of things that she wants to do, and hopefully next year we'll be doing Everest Base Camp as well.
Okay.
I know, right?
Wow. That is amazing. Can't wait to hear about it. Thanks so much for being here, Shaq.
Thank you.
And last but not least, I want to introduce Harsha Mandava. Harsha was born in India, moved to the United States at the age of 6. He grew up in the Midwest and now resides in Washington, D.C. with his lovely wife and 2 dogs. Professionally, he works for an international company, bridging the gap between IT and business in the realm of finance and accounting. Harsha recently completed the Healthy Relationships program, a first of its kind experience for him. And also, I just want to add, it's his first ever Facebook Live, first ever time doing anything like this. So really, this is so brave. He's really stepping out of his comfort zone, even being here. And so I just really want to acknowledge Harsha for that. So a big round of applause for you just for being here today. Thank you so much, Harsha. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm doing well. I thank you for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity to experience new things. As you explained, this is my first Facebook Live, so be gentle with me.
Oh, you're in good company, and you are surrounded by people that are going to have your back here. So you're in the right place, Harsha.
I'm happy to be here with all of you lovely gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. Okay, so I would love to get straight into it. The firstly and the most important question that I would like to talk about is why, in your opinion, what stops men from seeking support, working on themselves? Why do they resist so much? Jignesh.
I say ego gets in the way the most, the masculinity. Um, it did for me anyway. So that definitely would be the number one reason for men not wanting to be vulnerable, not wanting to show emotions, not wanting to show any weaknesses. And again, we learned in the HR course that all of those things are just feelings based on your ego. So yeah, that's what I say. That's what holds men back.
And do you think men just think it's not even like they just don't even need it? I don't know. Anyone got any other thoughts around that? Go on, Harsha.
I would say that to add on to that, it's as part of the ego, it's more the fear, like the fear of judgment and the fear of not being accepted, or the fear of being seen as less than or weaker. And so really those fears are stemming from how we're externalizing it to society and how we see ourselves fit within society. Just to add.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Yeah, like the fear of judgment, like what will people think if I'm saying that I'm doing some work on myself? Like what will they think of me, right? Like because I'm not out there watching the football. Well, you can still do both, but that's the thing, right? And like one thing I would say is like lots of, at least from my experience with talking with guys, if I say to my husband, oh, you met up with the guys, what did you guys talk about? Oh, politics, the football, this and that. Whereas when I go out with my friends, we'll ask how each other's doing. How are you feeling? So there's even just a difference in that general chat. Shaq?
Yeah, I think there's a lot around kind of that weakness part that the gents have already said. I think especially for example within certainly within Asian kind of culture that I've experienced, there's that kind of pride around not showing that there's anything wrong, being strong and that, kind of pasting over the fact that there may be stuff going on, but actually as a man you need to kind of just be the dude, be the guy that can kind of get through it all and not actually break or have emotions because actually you've got to support your family, you've got to be the man of the household. I think that kind of phrase, the man of the household, is one of those things. So then you just kind of bottle the emotions, put them to one side, don't really kind of acknowledge them, and that gets in the way of everything. And I think that's one of the big reasons why people don't, or men don't do self-development.
So then, if the idea is that you're bottling things inside, do you think the idea of being strong has been sort of misunderstood or misused by men?
I would, yeah. I think that whole being strong, kind of, it's about being, like that kind of concept is about kind of being silent and in control, and that shows and represents the strength. But actually, I think now more and more, as I've gone through this process, actually it's resilience, it's honesty, it's openness, and that's where the real strength lies. And kind of being able to face into my emotion is actually probably actually tougher and stronger than actually kind of avoiding it. So I personally think that that's actually the true mark, really.
I think that's beautiful, Shaq. Like, actually, it's funny what we think of, or the status quo is about strength, but actually, to do the work, to face your inner self, face those thoughts, that takes more strength and courage than it does to kind of brush it under the carpet and
Yeah.
pretend everything is fine. What does anybody think? Why do you think it's seen as a women's thing? Any thoughts around that?
It's traditionally, sorry, I just said what I'm saying, but no, so traditionally, women are the emotional creatures.
Yeah.
You know, they're portrayed as emotional creatures in movies, lovey-dovey. I mean,
Oh, and we just
what
lost you there, Jignesh. But I think you were saying that women are
did you?
traditionally seen as the emotional creatures, so it just kind of aligns with women. And I think we have you back. And sort of again on this topic, have you any of you four personally resisted doing the inner work? And what changed for you? Jignesh, I know. I think were you? Did you have to have your arms slightly twisted to do the work?
Yeah, I had to have my arm slightly twisted because when I joined, I didn't want to join HR. I heard healthy relationships. Excuse my French, but I thought that's for pussies. Excuse my French. This is live. This is raw, but this is the truth. You know, I mean, sorry if your kids are watching, but like that's what I thought. That's what I thought when I heard healthy relationships. But then I went on the master class because, and again, that was forcefully. It was because my wife really, showed me that she really wanted me to do this. Again, in my head, I was thinking, yep, I'll go on this master class and it'll be over. I'll be done. But I got something from it. I got
Mm,
something in that master class, which led me to, well, she joined it first, but then it led me to actually think, man, there's something there. Because if I just thought, man, there's nothing there, I wouldn't have spent the money.
mm,
I'm one of them cheap patels. I'm not spending the money, you know what I mean? But like when I looked at the big picture, if I wanted to do any course, whether it's on myself, whether it's on coaching, whether it's any kind of leadership,
yeah.
any college level course is going to have a cost to it. So I threw that money thing out the window. If I want to do this, it's going to be for myself. I'm past college now, right? So yes, it did take a little bit of twisting, even a little bit of twisting to actually sign up for the course. But again, as you know, once I signed up for the course, I also had my arm twisted to go into the TCB program. And again, I'm happy for it. I'm glad that I did. I haven't solved all of the toxins within me. Sometimes I still will let anger out, or I will still let something out, right? But it's a constant, it's a work in progress. But
It
no,
is.
I'm glad. I'm glad that my arm was twisted, though.
Yeah,
It
when
does.
you look back, glad that arm was twisted. Thanks, Jignesh. Just to create a bit of context for those watching, on a couple of things Jignesh said. When we talk about healthy relationships, it's not marriage counseling. It is when you work on the most important relationship, which is the one with yourself, because when you work on yourself, everything starts to shift around you. And the second thing, he referred to the TCB, and that is the coaching body, which is the FitBanker organization has all different programs, and the coaching body is one where we train coaches to become certified and get and become leaders in life, really. Shaq, Jesse, and then Hersha, I think, also was going to talk about did you resist the inner work and what made you do it? Over to you, Shaq, and then Jesse.
So I think for me, it was I never recognized the issue in the first place.
Ah,
I
yeah.
thought I was fine. Like it never just occurred to me that this kind of stuff existed, that I could be in a different way or operate in a different space. I just thought this is the way forward, right? And this is the way I'm going to be. So I think part of that was then, kind of when I entered the FitBanker arena, and I did the 90-day challenge first, which takes on your health. I started to realize that actually, hang on, there's some more stuff to this. There's more transformational work out there. And to me, I'd never heard of transformational. And everyone sort of thinks like transformational, I'm going to turn out to be a different person. But actually, the inner work, kind of I started to do something, and it just actually for me started with reading a book, and then I started to realize that I can be in control of my own emotions, and I can be in control of how I react, and that actually how people see me is actually how I react. So it started with a very simple book for me, and then it started to build up, and that was only what 4 years ago I started to do that. So yeah.
Wow. I'm sure people are wondering what the book was called.
So yes, the book was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari,
Okay.
Robert Sharma. So that was a turning point for me.
We all have a book, don't we? And it's
Yeah.
interesting what you were saying that you didn't know. Like,
Mm.
have you guys heard of that saying? You don't know what you don't know. Like, if
Yeah.
you don't even know something like this exists, I strongly believe that this type of self-development work, I want them to teach it in schools, right? Like, because we go to school, we learn English and maths, whatever profession you go in, you learn how to do that. Where do you learn this? People will say, just let it go. Just forgive, but who teaches you to actually do that? I'm like, how do I let it go? So it's very interesting. And like you said, I think that's a really important point. You don't even know or not even aware of your way of being that actually there can be another way. So thank you for that, Shaq. Over to you, Jesse.
Yeah, I guess mine is a little bit more of a different take on resisting.
Yep.
I, in my experience, clearly it was just the world telling me that this is what you have to do next. And my story behind signing up for the Healthy Relationship Program, I mean, a little background here. Yes, I was looking like I was thriving in life, traveling and everything else, but it was super depressive, especially with personal relationships, being in just wrong, toxic relationships, infidelity that was happening. And I was at a point in my life where like I had just sold everything. And it was just like, I am homeless. I've got no plan. I've got no job. And that I want to say is like that the world twisting my arm saying, you need to look inside yourself and do something. Because currently, the way you're doing things, it's not producing the results that you want. I was not happy, even though on paper it may look like I was happy, but it wasn't happening. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I perceived the question of like, did I was the resistance was there? It was like the resistance was from me. And then the world showed me that was like, well, I'm going to take away everything that you have and you need to do this. So that's how I signed up for the Healthy Relationship Program. And that's my invite for all of you that are watching. It's that the world will work for you and will show you. And I mean, there could be a reason why you're listening to this very specific panel here, because you were driven here, you needed to hear something. And this is the world giving you that opportunity to say, sign up, do something, because currently, right now, what you're doing is not, as I said, producing the results that you want. So that's my pitch.
Thanks, Jesse. It's really interesting what you said about the world giving you a message. And one of the things, talking about another book, actually, The School for Gods, which we studied in the coaching body, like it was one of, on our reading list there. And it talks about how your outside world mirrors your inner state, right? And so when you talk about all of these things going outside, when you work on your inner state, it can be reflected in your outside world too. And Harsha, just coming to you, about did you resist doing the inner work? What changed for you in kind of taking
So
it
actually
on?
for me, I think it was also a little similar to Shaq's, is the ignorance that there was an issue, combined with um, the misunderstanding of what being strong meant. Yeah. So for a long time, I was just being strong and letting things build up and bottle up, to a point where I ultimately hit a rock bottom. And um, and so that was back in 2019, where I was doing some implementations in Argentina. And at that time, that week, I think I slept 8 hours during the entire implementation, and I was in Argentina all month when I was supposed to be there for a week and a half. And ultimately, I was just completely broken. And so I think that's the first time where my shift started happening, where I came back and I started seeing my own therapist to kind of deal with those issues. And so that's really what shifted for me, is that I hit rock bottom and I knew I needed help to get out of it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's really interesting, right? Because for some people, and it's like what Jesse said, it's like the world showing him like he needed to do something. You hit rock bottom. For some people, it's hitting rock bottom. For some people, it's just like just not even being aware that there's a different way of being. And so anybody who kind of comes up for self-development, thinking about working on themselves, can be coming from all kinds of different places. And what's beautiful is wherever you start from, like that's your starting point, right? Like, and everyone's got their own starting point. So I'd like to shift gears now and kind of we've talked a bit about resisting and that aspect of it. I would like to talk a little bit about what changes you guys have seen in your own life since starting the self-development work. So if I could ask each of you to just give like a 1 minute share on what changes did you see in your own life and if it impacted your relationships with partner, family, friends, even colleagues. Who's going to jump right in? Harsha, go for it.
I guess I can start. I think that in general, I've learned more about myself. I things that I used to ignore in the past before, it's just the way it was. It's the way it is. And so I guess the more that I learn about myself, it gives me more opportunities to work on that.
Yeah.
And also, I guess specifically with the HRP program, I think the things I took away are like even when I was journaling before. So before I even started therapy, I wasn't journaling, or I wasn't journaling before. When I started seeing a therapist, I started journaling, but a lot of the times when I decide to journal, it's always about negative stuff. So when I get pissed off, I'll go and journal, right? And to be honest, I do the same thing if I go to a hotel or a restaurant. I get pissed off and I write them a bad review. But if I have a great experience, I don't always give a great review. And so that's kind of like what my journaling was like. And so being journaling just your likes every day, like showed me at the end of the day that there was something good that happened throughout the day. And I think that was a very positive transformation for me just in my relationship with myself. And that, yeah.
I love that. And Harsh is referring to like one of the building blocks that I mentioned earlier, like when you do work, and there's all different kinds of self-development programs that you could see a therapist, there's all kinds of things. On a program like this, the idea is that each week we work on building blocks, which are there really to rewire the patterns in your brain, right? So, and that's what Harsha is referring to there. So thank you so much. And Harsha, while I have you there, I remember early on the program, you kind of like, we talk about resisting starting the program. At one point, you were like, actually, no, I don't want to do this. But then you came back, and that's something that can happen too, because sometimes when you start the work, you can almost want to run away from it too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I initially for the HRP program, I joined because I was voluntold to, but I initially I was already doing so much personal therapy and things like that that I felt like I'm adding another task to the list. And initially, to be honest, it was my own toxins that kind of led me to that. My toxin of comparison or between programs or my comparison on maybe how others are doing the program. And ultimately, I decided to leave, but I kind of um, had the opportunity to talk with my coaches and my spouse and other people who encouraged me to stay with the program. And I'm happy that I did, because I would have left without all of the other valuable information that's in the program that I gained. So I appreciate my coaches and everyone that convinced me to stay.
Thanks for sharing that, Harsha. I know that can't be easy, so really appreciate you. Shaq, do you want to go about what changes you saw in your life and how it affected other relationships too?
Yeah, so I think again, I never recognized that I was kind of actually emotionally quite volatile. And when I look back in retrospect, there's quite a bit around the workspace where I'd walk in one day and I'd be like, "Where is everyone?" And they're like, "They're all hiding, Shaq." I'm like, "Oh, no, where is everyone?" They're like, "No, they're hiding." I was like, "Why?" And they're like, "You're angry." I'm like, "I'm not angry." And they're like, "No, you're angry." I'm like, "No, I'm not angry." I'm like, "No, you're not angry," right? So like, yeah, I didn't even realize that I was actually giving off the vibes that I'm actually frustrated, annoyed, and that emotional leakage was happening, and I didn't even realize. And I think I got on the program, and I don't even know what kind of got me to do it. I just thought, sorry, let me just join and see where it goes. And I'll be very honest, for the first 4 or 5 weeks, I didn't get it. I just didn't get it, right? And but I stuck with it, and then there were some clicking moments in there when I really kind of got, oh, here we go, right? This is really kind of getting to the crux of it. And for me, what I started to realize is that I am in control of my emotions. I can choose to have or experience an emotion or show an emotion or be with an emotion, but I don't have to let it control me, right? And I think that was huge turning points for me. So then actually I started to realize that I can choose my reaction, so and when I can choose my reaction, I can then choose how I interact with the world and how I can, deal with things in, like kind of with other people, with how things work, and therefore I can, be in control. And I think that was the bit that was real turning points for me, that I didn't realize I had that control, or that was something I could control, and have available to me. Obviously, whilst I was going through this kind of program, um, I was kind of working on my own relationships as well, with family, and actually my wife, who is now my partner, who is now my wife. And I changed my being as well to be able to open myself up to a bigger relationship with her, and actually friends and family too.
I
And
love it.
I'd like to think I'm less emotionally volatile, although I think if I'm tired enough, I think I can get there. But I'm a lot less I'm much more in control of my emotions, and I don't let them control me. And I have the ability to be able to change my emotion or my reaction because I am in control.
Yeah, I love that. And it's you talk about being in control and being able to change that. And it's so funny, right? Because everybody says people don't change, right? Like that's a common saying, people don't change. But actually, I think this kind of proves that people do change because we just assume that's just what I'm like. That's just what their personality, like that's just who they are. And it's not changing who you're being, but it's changing, like you said, how you react to things and your emotions. So I truly believe you can change actually. So thanks for sharing. Um, Jesse, Jignesh, did you either of you want to add anything to that? Like what changes you've seen in your own life since starting self-development work, and even how it can support men in their careers or leadership roles? Any one of those kind of thoughts on that?
So yeah, I mean, the things that I saw within myself, the changes that I saw was more awareness because anyone, like I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, so anyone that's an entrepreneur is going to have a roller coaster ride, ups and downs, emotional ups and downs, you know, um, through it all, there was always a lot of self-development, reading, um, but being caught up in the day-to-day stuff, you kind of forget those things that you kind of need to do. The things that are in the books, they're not just in the books. It's like if you go, if I train my dog, but then I don't keep doing the little things that I need to, she's gonna forget those things. And I was reading the books, I was getting the self-development, I was doing all those things, but I wasn't implementing them.
Mm.
And the awareness to implement those things, first of all, was big. I don't journal. I should journal, but I don't. I only journaled when I was on the HR program, a little bit when I was a coach, but I don't journal. The things that I do the self-affirmations, I do, you know, self-talk, gratefulness, I do all those things. And like Shaq said, in the first 4, 5, 6 weeks, I didn't get it. I just stayed with the program. And there was little light bulbs like, oh yeah, aha, that makes so much sense. And it kind of put everything together. And again, I'm not the finished article. I still, will snap and will still let an emotion out. But at the same time, I do agree with what you're saying, Shaq. I'm way more in control of my emotions, and it's just the awareness. It's just the awareness, like, oh yeah, well, this is making me feel this way. So that's why I'm acting like this. This is making me feel this way. That's why the anger is coming out. This is making me this way. That's why a little jealousy is coming out here, you know? So that awareness was big, and it allowed me to really control sadness, all kind of emotions. But again, not the finished article, still work in progress.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's a work in progress for sure. And it's not even saying don't have any emotions. Feel them, observe them, see them. But what you can work on is how you then behave. Like what impact do those emotions have on you and on other people? And you become aware of that. And they do say the first step to self-correction is self-observation, right? So even that, like say work in progress. Jesse?
Yeah, I was just going to echo all of what you guys are saying. That whole idea of self-awareness, that is a major tool that I have developed and continue to develop. And that's something that I have never been introduced to until the Healthy Relationship Program. This idea of being self-aware. And just personally, just most recently, I was not aware of certain events, external events that was just having a major impact on me. And I was blaming it on other things. Like I was suggesting that, oh, maybe it's because my ADU project is not going along well. I'm currently potty training my daughter, and not going well. I need to find a new daycare. So all of these things were impacting me, but underneath it all, there was another major um, event, and I'll be blunt and say it was just the political environment around me, and that I was just doom scrolling on events of deportation and all these like injustices around the world. And it made me sick to my stomach. And I was gripped with fear that this can also happen to me. And so I blamed it on the other things. And it was only because of doing the healthy relationship and being in a caring community that I was able to understand that, bring that self-awareness. It's not these little miniature, little minor events that were happening in my life that I was being so angry. It was this deep down thing that was happening, and I thought I had sorted it out. I had shared that I had shared my like my fears with my wife, with my close friends, and I thought, all right, I'm done. It's over. I'm doing good. And then a couple of weeks later, it was still sitting inside of me, but I was not aware of it. I blamed other things, and I think that was one of the greatest tools of the healthy relationship program is to make you understand of these all these things that are happening, all these fears that are happening. And kind of going back even to your first question, why men don't sign up for these programs, it's because number one, it's scary, and number two, it's hard work. And we like to just be like, no, I don't want to deal with it. And I know what happened in the past when, and I've been scared before. There's nothing wrong with being scared, but I remember dealing with it in a very different way. It was me burying my head into work, me, grinding it out and not addressing the fears. And it was just, and that's how I did it before. And this time around, I was like, I need to stop. I can't keep it all in, and I need to. And that was just because of the power of just self-awareness that I was taught on the Healthy Relationship Program.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jesse. So it's so interesting. So I guess we're talking like that, doing this work on yourself, doing self-development, having some tools, kind of it's changing the way that you're handling stress, that you're handling fear, that you're dealing with external events. You've got all kinds of different ways. You're going to have when you work on yourself, you get the tools to deal with the stress and how to handle things. You get to deal with how you react and your emotional needs. And then you get the other aspect where when you work on yourself and you heal yourself, things start to shift. And so then you get to create positive things and see kind of magic happen, whether it's in relationships or family or community or career or leadership, right? Like, so it can impact all different areas. So we've got like, and that's what I think is amazing about self-development. Like it can have impacts in all of these areas, in how you react or what you can create too. So I would love to talk a little bit now about, okay, so we've talked about why we resist, we've talked about the benefits. I want to think a little bit about how can we as community or society make it safer and more normal for men to open up? What could we do? How could we do that? I mean, I think coming on here and talking about it is a great first step. But any other thoughts around that, Shat?
So I think as a community, as society, there are people that have gone through these kind of changes or kind of gone programs and the development. And I think actually just sharing those stories really authentically and kind of just being vulnerable with them, but actually allowing other people to see, that and other guides that it's actually okay to be able to feel and to speak. And I think that's really key. So actually sharing more stories of this, if you've gone through the program or if you've gone through any kind of development, to share that it's absolutely okay to do so. So leading by example in that sense as well.
Yeah, I love that. And you're absolutely right, Shat, because when you share something vulnerable and you feel like it's so hard, I don't want to share this, I don't know, but when you share it, actually you give access to other people to share too, right? Like it gives other people that access and it kind of makes other people go, oh, I'm not the only one going through this. Like imagine if you shared something deeply personal that was happening to you. And a lot of people don't talk about it. And so then somebody else sitting out there, listening in here, anywhere in your life, if you share, and they like, oh my God, I went through that and I didn't have anyone to talk to about it.
It's like, but it's like when you go to school, right? You know, when you put your hand up in school and go, I don't know this question or I don't know the answer, there's probably another, kind of 5 people in your class that actually don't know the answer as well, right? You're just brave enough to talk about it or ask the question in the first place. So I think that's the thing. If you've gone through the development, be brave, talk about it, and share. And, even if you help one person, it's all worth it, isn't it?
It's all worth it. One person. And something I want to share here, and at first I was going to actually say, sorry, guys, but actually there's a lot of guys that go through this too. When we had trouble having our second baby and we went through multiple rounds of IVF, and a lot of people are very private about that journey and everything else. And I remember going to a wedding and telling a few people, yeah, I'm going to be doing IVF too. And after that wedding, a few people called me and they said, I'm going through it too, but I didn't have anyone to tell and I didn't have anyone to talk about. And it was just giving access to it and just saying, yeah, I've been on this journey. I've had this heartbreak. It's hard. Okay, so we think the way to do it to make it safer and more normal is just to share and talk about it. And hopefully, you never know what ripple effects can come from a conversation like this. What would you say to somebody who is kind of thinking, sitting here and watching?
Actually, you had your hand up. What were you going to say?
Oh, did he? Sorry, I missed it. Thanks, Jesse. Thanks for catching it.
Sorry, no, I was gonna just agree with you, Pooja. Like when you kind of share different things, you find other people that also have gone through the same experience. So just similar to like I think some of you know where we lost our daughter to stillbirth essentially, um and that's kind of hard. But when we start talking about it or sharing that with others, we found so many different people that have also gone through that same experience. And so along the same lines of kind of as a society, how can we kind of make it more inviting for men as well? It's also to kind of find those niche kind of groups or programs that have that. So for example, right now, I'm also a part of the Sad Dads Club, where we have other men out there that have gone through the same experience, so that we can kind of share our experiences and have that group of people that do understand what you're going through. And I think that's an important aspect to make it easier. And it's also, I think another aspect is sometimes people, while you can want it so much for them and like push them, it really has to be inviting and they have to come to that decision themselves. And I think that's a really important aspect of that, because if we push it too much, it actually becomes more resistant, where they're like, you know what, I'm not doing this at all. Right? That's all I was gonna add.
Thank you, Harsha. And I want to say I'm so sorry for your loss, and thank you so much for sharing that with us and with everybody watching. Thank you, Harsha. Jignesh?
I think it's stigma. It's the stigma that's surrounded around not self-development, because self-development is great. Everyone goes after that. It's not just women, but it's talking about mental health, talking about, it's essentially weaknesses, what men are looking at as weaknesses within them. You know, the stigma has to change. And it has to change through like what you guys are saying, through sharing, more men sharing their stories. It's not going to be just one or two of us coming on here and sharing it. But if this gets even two, three people to see what the HR program's about, or even if it's not the HR program, to look for some kind of program out there that's going to allow them to get in tune with themselves. It's the stigma that really has to change around, around this kind of thing being feminine and men being, Tarzans beating on their chest and, they can't cry and they can't do this and that, they can't do these things. It's okay. It's okay to have these feelings. Everyone's got stuff going on. It doesn't matter who you are. And my big might not be your big, but it might be the next person's huge, life-changing. So also the other thing being on this course is getting me more aware of is just looking at perspectives. I'm not the best with that. I'm very, one of the things is judgmental. Don't be judgmental. So again, like, it's big. It's big, but all that comes with that, again, back to the first thing we talked about, the ego with that Neanderthal manly brain that we have.
Yeah. That's really important, and talking about the mental health aspect, because again, the underlying thing with all of this is when you don't do the work, and if you are going through something, that can have a really big impact. So there is that stigma. So thank you for raising that point. So what would you say? And I was going to ask the question, what happens if you don't do the work? But I think you've kind of touched on that there, right? Like it can affect mental health. It can negative, like our emotions, if we're not in control, it can impact the people around us as well as ourselves. And even the impact of actually you might not get to, like, it's about being the best version of yourself, right? Like what could be the best version? You don't even know what that could be. So if you don't do it, it's almost like, what are you missing out on? Because actually, what could life be like? What could it be? So what would you say to someone right now who's watching this, and I'm going to talk about this specific healthy relationships program, but even just in terms of self-development generally, what simple first step can a man take if he's curious but unsure where to begin, or anyone sort of sitting on the fence and thinking, should I do some work on myself? Should I not? And we'll talk specifically about our program in a minute, but just generally, should I do something or should I not? Because I'm thinking about it and I'm not sure. What would you say to that man watching that, thinking that?
I would say do it. Just jump in because if you don't do it, well, the first thing is you have to make the step to decide to jump in or not, right? Then just get on the HR program, get on the masterclass, just get on the masterclass, see what it's all about. You might get that one thing, that light bulb in your head from the masterclass. And if you get that, even if it's one or two things, like we talked about earlier, there's going to be a realization somewhere. The course wasn't just developed at first. Like I said, at first, I'm just like, what is this? What are we doing here? But when you get deeper into it and you realize, hey, this is all kind of intertwining, you know, it makes sense. But when you're on the fence, just jump in, go on that masterclass, go on that course. And then even after you go on a course, if you look at anything self-development wise, there's a cost to it. You go to any university, any online university, there's going to be a cost to it. So don't even let the cost deter you, because if you want to be a better person, I went to college, you should see how much my loans were. I mean, it's crazy. So if you want to be better, sometimes you just have to, take that first step. And even for those, because I didn't think there was anything wrong with me. Let me tell you, I was making six figures. I was doing great, doing phenomenal. Life was good, married, got a great life. But there's always these things that as men, we just bottle up. We just put away in the back, in a box somewhere inside of us, and we just never talk about it. Just for me, it gave me the opportunity to just go deep into the box, pulling everything up at the top, but even get going in the bottom, finding stuff that I didn't even know was there anymore. I just packed away. And, again, this isn't just for people going through stuff, even people that aren't going through stuff, because I wasn't emotionally going through anything at that point. But I find that I really was. Because, again, I was just letting toxins out here, there, and everywhere. Again, it's still there, but the realization's there, and they will come out here and there. But again, now I can be more in control of them. So just jump in, go to the masterclass. Coach Jesse's coaching on the next one, and it starts here soon, couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in just a sec. Thanks, Jignesh. That is, I love it. Just jump straight in, do it. And I love your shares. And I love the thing I loved best about what you just said, Jignesh, sorry. I think I just said Jesse. What I loved is like, you thought you were doing great. So I really, really love like that. That is so valuable. Shaq and then Harsha.
So for me, as a first step, it's about a conversation, right? With somebody you trust, somebody like if you're not even sure where to begin, like absolutely, you can jump on a masterclass, but if that isn't even your flavor, you have no idea. For me, it's talk to somebody that you trust, right? And just go, right, just kind of let it out. I think for a guy that never thought there was a problem, I wouldn't even have like probably the actual I wouldn't have the cojones to even go on a masterclass because that would be even the kind of like the start for me to think, hang on, is there something wrong? There's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect the way you are, right? It's about just actually kind of I want to be even better. So actually have a conversation with somebody that may be in the know, may have done something like this, right? Ask them what they benefited from, how they did, right? Friend, coach, your partner, whoever, right? But open that door to kind of exploring where it is with somebody that you can trust, and then there's our programs, the healthy relationship programs, but there's so many others as well, and it's just about kind of opening yourself up to taking that next step.
I love it. Just give it a go. And Harsha, you gonna add something?
I guess there's nothing really much more to add than what Jignesh and Shaq have already added, but I think the third thing to say for is that there's really nothing to lose, but a potential to gain something, right? So for those gamblers out there, if I would say, hey, let's go to this casino where we'll never lose, but we could possibly gain something, I think that's a great place to go. So it's a great way to take a step.
I love it. I love it. For the families out there. There's nothing to lose and something to gain. I love it. Oh my God, you guys are awesome. Jesse, what were you gonna say?
I also love it too. The last thing that I was super inspired by just all of you sharing, and you are worth it. If you're listening to this right now, you're damn worth it. Invest in yourself. That's bottom line is that you're worth it. And I don't know if anyone has ever told you that. You're worth it. You are worth it.
I love it.
So sign up, do reach out, do everything that you can because man, we were put on this world to live. And it's our commitment that when we see people or hear or listen to people that they are just living in fear and not going out there to live their lives, it's like we need to do something because and that's my last thing here is that my daughter means a lot to me. And if I get to show her that I live a life of fear, that I am not worth the investment, that's not something that I want to show her. I want to show her that life is full of abundance. Life is, you can go out there, treat yourself, work on yourself, get better at these things. So that's just kind of like my last pitch here is that you are worth it. So sign up on the Healthy Relationship Program that I'll be head coaching and Coach Jignesh will be a coach there too.
You will. And one thing I just want to say, actually, in when you talked about you're worth it, in the words of Gaurav Gopal Das, it's like you are your most important project because when you're in place, everything else is in place around you too, right? Everything falls into place. So I think after everything you have all said today, first of all, I'm just going to quickly just a shout out and a thank you to Coach Jignesh because it was the interview that I did with him back in January when we were starting out, and he was so, I had never heard a man talk like that before and be like, look, it's my ego. That's why I didn't want to do it. And he was so raw and so honest that this whole idea came up, and I was like, hang on, what you're saying, other people need to hear this, Jignesh. And so that's where the idea was born. I was like, I want to do this panel because of your honesty and you bring it up. And I was like, people need to hear this and other people need to talk. So thank you, Jignesh. And I want to say that after everything I've heard, one thing is really clear. One thing is so clear to me anyway. This work is not optional. The thing is, the way we feel, the way we act, the way we react, the way we progress, create, now all comes from our past experiences. Therefore, some form of work on this is essential because when you choose to heal, grow, and lead from within, everyone around you benefits too, right? Whether it's family, relationship, workplace, communities, it all shifts. And the impact is just too great to ignore. This is no, like, it's not a choice. I think it's a necessity. And if you listen to what Jignesh said, jump in. If you listen to what Harsha said, like, gamble, don't do it. Everything these guys are saying here, Jesse's saying it's worth it. Shaq saying, I thought I was fine. So all of these things together. So if you would like to find out any more, now again, as we talked about, Shaq said, it could be any type of work that you do. First, speak to someone. If you'd like to find out a bit more about the Healthy Relationships Program, you can send a direct message to any one of the 5 of us. You can talk to us. And Jesse's going to talk about the date of the next masterclass and when the next Healthy Relationships Program starts. And we'll put the links in the bio for that too. So Jesse, do you want to just share those details for us?
Absolutely. So the next Healthy Relationship Program, again, will start on Thursday, May 22nd. I am hosting masterclasses live, and so you can join in on that. And that's going to be happening on the Tuesday, May 13th. But either way, if you do go on the website, fitbanker.com/HR, you'll be able to get in contact with Dr. Ambika, and you can find out more about the Healthy Relationship Program. But just like what everybody is saying, was just reach out, and we would gladly love to reach out back to you as well.
Yeah, just to have a chat. And as Jignesh was saying, just if you want to just get on a masterclass just to see, and if you can't make the date of May 13th, there on the website there's one accessible anytime you like and your convenience. And the next program is May 22nd. You guys, I just want to thank you so much for your time. You guys are the strongest men I know. So that is changing it completely. You guys are the strong, strong men. And thank you to everyone watching. And we really hope you got something out of this today. Thank you so much. And bye, everyone.